to the summer of 2006. Nelly Furtado was #1 with Man-Eater, Tony Blair was Prime Minister, and Cheryl, Posh and Colleen, Rooney, not Nolan, were on the terraces at the World Cup in Germany. Remember the Baden-Baden years? Now, with all the action kicking off tomorrow night with Scotland playing Germany, then England facing Serbia on Sunday, all to be watched on ITV and ITVX, there's not been a sniff of a wag. Now, I know this upsets you so much, Liv. Do we need a renaissance?
Do you know what it is? Because I can play devil's advocate here, and I am married to someone that plays football for a living.
Are you?
Yeah, 90 minutes is a lot.
Would you call yourself a wag?
No.
No.
For various reasons, but I guess by definition, I would be technically, but I would never refer to myself as such. But it was all the fashion and the sort of
glamour
the glamour. It just, if you're not that into football and then football's everywhere, it's quite nice to have something to be like, oh, look, you know, are they talking? She's got the big shades on, they're out on the town. So I miss all that, and it felt like a simpler time, didn't it?
Yeah.
But football's changed, and culture in clubs has changed, and I think that's fed through, and what you have now is, you know, wives and girlfriends who don't want to be famous in their own kind of right, and they're very happy to support their partners, which I think is also a great thing. It's a lovely thing. Not that they didn't support their partners, but in just a different way. They're happy to take a back seat, and they're just more, they're more sort of discreet about everything.
But it's, I don't know, is it more difficult now, would you argue, being a wife or girlfriend of a player in the era of social media? Because the abuse that you tell us about on DMs and what have you as a result of Brad, Brad's playing, sorry.
No, 100%. I mean, even look what happened with Declan Rice's partner just the other week. I think a lot of the girls are taking more of a backseat, but probably as well because they just don't want to be put in that firing line of what can happen when you are, you know, on social media. And Brad having me as a wife makes his job harder, and I know that because it's a lightning rod for emotion for people when things aren't going right. And you know, I know that it's tougher for him than it would be to have someone, you know, that the players couldn't identify. Do you know what I mean?
And in terms of things like, you know, you obviously have the online abuse and all of that stuff, and but the fitness levels of the players, I think, are different. I mean, I'm born and bred in London, and we knew the clubs to go to on particular nights in London because you knew the players were going to be there and going out for a big night out. Those nights out usually end up on the front of the News of the World or the Sun. We don't really see as much of that now. And perhaps for the better, would you argue, Linda?
I think it's stricter now, isn't it, on the footballers and that. So even if they're away and the wives turn up, they're not allowed to sleep in the same room, are they? They're not allowed to have sex before they've just played a game or anything. It's quite strict, isn't it?
Yeah, right. I don't know how they enforce that.
Well, maybe for most of them, not for you, Liv.
Brad's not playing for England, so I'm all right. We can do whatever we want.
But then, I guess it's the whole way that we looked at footballers and their partners back in 2006 is completely different.
Well, there was times in 2006 where the only thing I hated was it actually took away from the football.
Yeah.
Because they were more into saying what she
they were
was wearing and what they were saying and what they were doing. And actually, as a football sport, I mean, I love football, so it actually used to drive me mad. It was like, what about the team or what about England, you know? So it kind of
they were big stars in their own right, Cheryl and Posh, do you know what I mean? So I think that it was a very different time.
But then you also have, you know, the guys aren't going out and getting drunk anymore because they are so much stricter with themselves and with their bodies, because if they're not, they can't compete with the level of playing that we're at the moment.
And there's more games, you were saying.
There's more games throughout the year, so they have less time off. And then, like, you know, Charlene said, the athleticism is year on year, they're becoming faster, becoming stronger. So, you know, to keep up with that, they have to sort of, you know, they have to behave like athletes, you know, otherwise how can you?
Well, we're wishing both England and Scotland the best of luck for this weekend.